discussed Fat Man enough. Um, I just want to move on. Like, that's just my opinion. If you guys want to add more to it, are you guys
No,
free
Yeah,
for
no,
we'll
that?
see. Yeah,
good, man.
we're good, brother.
Cool.
Yeah.
Obviously, I want to discuss two or three more things. I don't want to push you guys for time too much. Like, I know you guys have families to get to or have other stuff to do, but I just want to discuss since we're lovers of film or film in general, and we want to obviously you guys have had this opportunity to direct the Hollywood blockbuster, and I'm wishing you all the best in the future to hopefully add more zeros to that $10 million budget, and hopefully make it uh, bigger in the future as well. And I'm trying to get to that stage as well that you guys have had the opportunity to get to. We've obviously all had our inspirations and film and movies that have inspired us to sort of do this. I just want to ask you guys what are your favorite films of all time, if you don't mind? Like just something that
Yeah.
like doesn't have to be. It can be doesn't have to be like oh this is a 10 out of 10, but something that maybe like your favorite films that sort of inspired you or you just love to watch just in general.
I mean, well, look, it's going to be a cross section of many genres, right?
That
So,
that's
and then
fine. That's
also,
fine.
yeah, and as what we grew up liking, we still enjoy to this day. But there were times as we've gone along where our tastes have evolved, right? So when
Yeah,
we
yeah.
when we first got into movies, like we loved, you know, Dirty Harry movies and westerns and uh, Predator and Terminator and Indiana Jones. Like that's what we grew up eating our Cheerios to and really really thoroughly enjoying. And to this day, if Predator's on the television, Ian and I are watching it. Like there's no way we're not watching.
Predator is one of my all time favorite films. I have to
So
put that
good.
there. I have the DVD, I have the Blu-rays, I have the 4Ks, I have duplicates of that film. I don't care. Like, I love
Whatever
that.
you're buying it.
That's
Whatever
right.
comes out.
It's probably it might be my favorite movie. I don't know.
Oh,
That's a tough call to say, but it's many times
Yeah.
it hit a lot of spots for me.
nah,
But then when we moved to Los Angeles and we were doing sort of our self education, we dove into a lot of like 70s, 60s, and 70s cinema, and that's when we discovered a lot of Hal Ashby and Peter Bogdanovich. So we were discovering like Paper Moon or Last Picture Show, some of the French New Wave stuff, the Godard, things like that, Weekend and stuff like that. So I don't know, but I think now, if you ask me some of my favorite movies, they're going to be like There Will Be Blood, you know, um, No Country for Old Men, Big
yeah,
Lebowski,
yeah.
things like that. Like it constantly shifts.
And then there's like Unbreakable, which we really love. Unforgiven, which we really love.
Yeah.
I mean, and I guess I don't know that lately it's funny. I think the longer you watch movies, the more you strive, or at least you hunger uh, for something original or something that's just
Yeah.
kind of like something that it takes a new approach at something. And yeah, we're always on the lookout for like a new a new approach to something, a new film that
Exactly.
is doing something in a different way. Yeah, we try to watch as much like stuff along those lines as possible. Like I remember one of the most current ones that I loved was Mandy. Have you seen Mandy?
No,
Nick Cage.
It's
is that the
really
I remember
cool.
seeing the preview for. Is that like the crazy one? Like, well, Nick Cage is
Oh
always
yeah.
that crazy
Oh, it's great.
one.
It's like an '80s heavy metal magazine. It's just a lot of like crazy colors, really contrasty. Like
Neon.
he's got
Pretty
strobe
dark.
lights. Yeah, and it's very inventive in its visuals, and that he's got. When I say heavy metal, it's like these meth head
Oh,
headbangers
okay.
in leather with and they have these swords and axes
Yeah.
that are like 20 feet long. I mean, it's
I,
fucking crazy and awesome.
that's
Um,
I was
go
about to
ahead.
say that's the best. Like when you have that originality, like you're looking for something more original, and that's why I appreciated Batman because it's something original. Like we're used to, obviously, the last I think 10 years we've been saturated with all this Marvel and sort of like I know Star Wars had the new Skywalker saga as well, but we've been saturated with so much of this, and then when you tend to watch another superhero movie, you're just like, oh, I've seen this before, unless it's something really out of the park and they've changed a bit.
Mhm.
But like sometimes you're just like, oh, I've seen this all before. It's just someone different in the costume. So that's why
Yeah.
I think it's great to appreciate, like as you were saying, Mandy, but or like
Yeah.
yeah,
No, I mean,
yeah,
I'm interested to see the next wave of superhero movies and what those look like.
That's going to be interesting.
I think Marvel's, kind of run its course. I think that that franchise feels like it's told you've had like a very complete meal with that, right? And so it'll be interesting to see if DC can come with something. Ian and I have always sort of gravitated towards the Batman. Christopher Nolan's Batmans in particular were really resonated with us.
Yeah.
I like in the Marvel universe, so like we're big Punisher fans.
Oh, that was, I love the shows. Did you watch?
Like we love characters that have a lot of vulnerability and are very human underneath.
Grounded, more grounded, sort of.
Yeah, like the guy can get hurt, and there's a lot of opportunity for him to lose and get hurt and get whooped up on, and get beat up, and he's got to come back and he's got to persevere, and we can all kind of relate to moments in our lives when we've kind of felt beaten down and you got to get back up and keep fighting. Like I like those types of superheroes where I can really see the vulnerability and really see them have to persevere past it. And that's their superhero. It's just their relentless will to keep going,
It's like sometimes when they're like, I don't know the term as well, like a Mary Sue sort of, where they're built with no flaws or anything. It's just like, what the outcome is going to be of the film. There's no sort of like tension there. There's no like, in this scene where they get knocked, you're not worried for them. Like, you experience that in a lot of superhero films as well.
Yeah.
I know. Like,
have you seen a film called Chopper?
No.
Put that on the list. and put it on.
It might be Eric Bana's best performance.
I think it totally is. I mean, look, it's as far as like a character that is far away from who Eric Bana really is. Yes, it's his best performance. Now, is that like the best movie and performance? Like, I don't know, you could be like, I love him in this movie because he plays it perfectly in this movie or whatever. But if you watch Chopper, like, I don't think Chopper has much to do, if anything to do with who he is as a person. But he plays it so truthfully, and it's such a wild, crazy, cool movie. It's so artfully done, and they had no money. It's like, hundreds of thousands of dollars were what it took to shoot that movie. And it's just bleeding of art and energy, and it's such a great movie.
I think Bronson's kind of like that too, right?
200%. Bronson's a lot like that. But I would say Chopper has more of a coherent story than Bronson does, whereas Bronson's like all just Tom Hardy in a cell going nuts, and it's mesmerizing and amazing to watch. But you are kind of stuck in a cell with that guy for most of that movie, and just watching him kind of lose his shit. Whereas Chopper is like there is a thriller, a crime thriller vibe to that movie, and a plot that you can get sort of distracted by some of the visuals and the crazy setups he has, but overall you're moving towards this, and that this character is this and wants this and is trying to move towards this, and this happens to him.
You were talking about Bronson, yeah? And we're talking about like.
Have you seen Bronson?
No, I haven't. I've seen.
Oh, we're making a list. We're making a list. We're gonna send it over.
Let me make a list. Okay.
That one's great too. I mean, that one's great because there's no real like. It's just a character piece, and it's just amazing visuals and a character piece, and it just sucks you right in, and you get wrapped up in it. And Tom Hardy's so amazing in it.
I love Tom Hardy. Yeah.
All right, what about Drive?
Is that I've seen it. Is it Ryan Gosling?
Yes.
Yes, I've seen it, but I haven't seen it in a while. Like.
Okay.
What are some movies that you've really enjoyed lately?
Lately, see, the last few years I've been a bit disappointed. But I think I think like in terms of, like, you're talking about the old films like Predator, Terminator 2, like I resonate with those films more than most films today. Like I remember I saw Jaws for the first time. My grandma showed it to me when I was 4 years old. And
oh wow.
Ever since then I've loved sharks. Like I've been sucker for the ocean. I love sharks in general. It's just, and I bought that movie. I have duplicates of that movie. I bought it on 4K, and I think that's just a timeless movie as well. Just in general, it's like, it's not about the shark. It's more about the characters, and the characters are what make Jaws as well. And I mean, you have that one scene when they're in the orca and they're discussing the Indianapolis, when the boat, and that's my favorite scene in Jaws as well, when Quint is discussing his scars, and I think that's just like when he's like, oh, sharks have dog's eyes, and they just, when you get bitten, they just roll over and you hear the roar, and I just love that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a great movie. I mean, that one's great. I mean, I love like if we're talking that era, oh my God, what is it? Close
Duel.
Encounter. Close Encounters
Yes,
is another
yes.
one. Duel's amazing as well. Duel's amazing. Has you seen Duel? Have you seen Duel?
No.
Spielberg. That's Spielberg's first
Dude,
movie.
like honestly, like don't feel bad. Like I remember when
Yeah.
Ian and I moved to LA.
I've actually seen, like, I'm known for a movie guy, a lot of movies, but there's a lot I haven't seen as well. Like, there's so many.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
We
There's
haven't.
too many.
Like,
But I remember when Ian and I moved to LA, we would literally watch 1 or 2 movies a day,
yeah.
and we did that for like a decade. So I mean, and I remember we had just a huge rack of movies.
The monolith. We call it.
Yeah, we get the monolith. So we got this big. We were putting discs in jewel cases, and this thing probably held what 1,400 discs or 1,400 films or something crazy.
Yeah.
That was 1,400. We had it packed.
1,400. I have a lot at home. I have about 400 or 500 Blu-rays, I think. But like, it's still
Whoa!
good. I don't know if it's that many, but we have a lot. But we're starting to collect more 4Ks as well. But I think I made a list before of films I wanted to watch over the last 2 or 3 years, and I'm trying to find it at the moment. But I had like No Country for Old Men on it, American Psycho, and I've watched those. Yeah, I found it. It's like I watched Inglourious Basterds, Black Swan, Green Mile, Good Will Hunting, Her, The Departed, Goodfellas, Wolf of Wall Street, American Beauty, Taxi Driver,
Good ones.
Parasite, Seven, Silence of the Lambs, Hunt for the Wilder People, Whiplash, Prisoners, and The Prestige. Like,
Yeah.
I've still got quite a few to go on the list, but yeah.
So that's crazy because like every movie or book that I read, I jot it down in a journal.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to like
Wow.
look back at that stuff, dude, and you have like volumes, and you're like, oh, and for us, I'm like, oh, in 2002,
Yeah.
In the month of August, I watched 23 films, read 2 books, and
that's actually awesome. That's actually a good idea, actually. But
He's more ridiculous than I am.
there's so many here like that I still need to watch, like Memento, Zodiac, Spotlight.
Okay.
I love all 3 of those.
Platoon. I actually purchased it, but I still haven't watched it. But
It's great.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
Yeah, there's so many, but yeah, but for me, like, my favorite of all time, and I recently watched them last week. All the boys came over. We had a marathon of Lord of the Rings because they just came out on 4K as well.
Oh, those were great, man.
So we marathoned the whole trilogy in one day, and that was.
What is that, like 10 hours? How long is that?
We started at 9. We started at 10 in the morning, and then we went to 9:30. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
Because we watched the first one theatrical, and then we're like, stuff it. We're watching the other 2 extended because we love the extended edition. So we just went on, and we made.
Yeah,
it
those are
there.
like 4 hours apiece, right?
Yeah.
They're
crazy.
They're long, man. I remember because I worked at a movie theater when those came out.
Oh, that would have been like a dream of mine to watch them in cinemas. But
it was pretty incredible. Yeah. No, but yeah. I mean, I worked at ArcLight Hollywood when those came out, and I remember like just seeing them on the big screen in the Cinerama Dome, and it was pretty amazing. They're about 3.5 hours long. Though. They were a commitment.
They were unbelievable to watch, and like,
They were good.
Like, everyone thinks of Lord of the Rings as being just a fantasy movie, and obviously we have the amazing speeches, the amazing battles, and that's what I love. That's a part of what I love about Lord of the Rings, but also you have the fantastic writing, and for me it resonates with my life as well, especially like some of the quotes in there that Gandalf said just resonate with some things I want to do in my life or how I should approach my life, and that's what I think resonates with me the most. Like, for instance, one of my favorite movies ever is Finding Nemo, like, because it's just how much it resonates with me on a personal level. That's why.
Amazing. And then, sorry to digress, but are you a Peter Jackson fan? Do you like Peter Jackson's movies, or do you just like The Lord of the Rings?
I haven't seen many of his films. Like, obviously, I enjoyed The Hobbit, but I had my issues with that because I think they went too CGI with those films.
Yeah.
And I watched behind the scenes, and they originally had it as 2 films, and it's 1 book. And they had it as 2 films, and then they said halfway through filming the second, like, no, we're making it into the 3rd. So obviously, I don't know if there was much love into it, or there was more thinking about the money. So
Yeah.
that was just my opinion. Like, I don't know if their mind was creating on the best product or like more capitalizing on the Lord of the Rings, the Middle Earth product, and let's go for the monetary value.
Sure. You should check out one of Peter Jackson's first movies called Bad Taste.
It's amazing.
So he totally made that independently, like made all the costumes, all the guns, like his mom fed the crew beans and
awesome.
toast.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think you'll dig it, man.
You gotta start somewhere.
He cooks the alien heads. Like the aliens have heads, like a certain head form, and they're huge. And he cooked them in his mom's oven. But he couldn't fit them in there the way that he wanted them, so they had these weird, like smushed head tops because he had to smush them and then push them in.
Look where he is now. Like,
yeah,
he's done well.
Not always stuff has to go on set like the way it does. Like, I don't remember what's about Predator. Like, have you seen the original design? It looked like a cockroach. Like,
oh yeah, it was awesome with that little head, that spindly neck.
Yeah, and then I think when I was watching behind the scenes, James Cameron actually came up with the ideas for the mandibles.
Yeah.
And so you had those like sort of like spontaneous little things that you add and you get ideas of everyone else. And look how iconic the character is now. I mean, in my opinion, I like it more than the alien character. That's might be a long shot. Some people might disagree, but
it's up for debate. Yeah. You know, it's up for debate.
They're both great in my mind, but I mean, the Predator's awesome because he seems to be a lot smarter than the aliens, right?
I like how they have like sort of an honor code in terms of like the aliens, the ruthless creature that will kill you. Like, all right, but I like how the Predators hunt. I like how they have that sort of respect, sort of samurai warrior type.
Yeah, exactly. It's awesome.
Yeah, but
why hasn't James Cameron made a Predator movie? That needs to happen.
That would be an.
I know why. Because
you know why?
Avatar 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Yeah. I want to see that, you know? Like, Ian and I always think about what it would be like if you put, like, Paul Thomas Anderson at the helm of a Predator movie.
Yeah. Like
take these really interesting filmmakers and put them in these, like, hardcore genre movies and see what they come up with.
Like, sometimes, like, just go beyond, not like, leave your genre sort of thing. Like, I know everyone, like, sometimes... It's like Martin Scorsese directing a Predator film. Like, everyone knows Martin Scorsese. Everyone knows Martin Scorsese for directing mobster gangster films. Like, some people want to see him leave that realm, sort of get outside your bubble, sort of.
Yeah, bring his sensibilities to sci-fi. It'd be really interesting.
I would love to see that.
I know Shane Black sort of, like, I love The Nice Guys, and like he has Kiss Kiss Bang Bang as well. And then when he tried to sort of bring a new take on the Predator for the Predator, which was a couple of years ago, and I remember that came out the same year as Infinity War, and I had that as my top 3 most look forward to films of that year. And I remember I saw that 3 times in cinemas across 4 days, and I thought it was a shit film. I still saw it because of the love of Predator, but yeah, he tried to add his new take on it, and yeah, it didn't quite work, like sort of the comedy blending with this sort of ruthless killer of an alien. Like, that's just my opinion. I don't know if you guys have seen it.
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh,
I haven't seen it.
Add that to your list.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna have that.
Put it on.
Yeah, I think when you watch it, you're just like, it's sort of like a bashing of like what the alien was. And I know everyone thought, oh, Shane Black starred in the original Predator, this is the perfect combination, but whatever happened. And then recently we had the news of Predator 5, so I'm happy Disney moving forward with the film, so I'm excited for that, and I'm excited for getting another Predator film. Yeah,
a good filmmaker. I'm curious to see what he does with it.
Because I think 10 Cloverfield Lane, I think that was pretty suspenseful. So
I totally dug it. Yeah.
Adding that to a Predator, I think if he can capture that same suspense and tension, that would be perfect. Because I think that's what the franchise has been missing for a while. Like,
yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I'm curious. I think he's definitely a unique filmmaker, and I think he'll have a unique take on it. It's gonna be great.